Hello, we are here in New York at Google's newest building, St. John Terminal, for DevFest New York City 2025. And we are in our creator studio with Sergey Chernishev, who is one of the speakers. Sergey and I have known each other for a long time because he has run the oldest web performance meetup, which is older than DevFest itself, which celebrates 16th anniversary. So we are truly honored here to be with Sergey. He's an expert in web performance, and he will tell us what that means. But it basically, if you don't have performance, you don't have money. Is that correct, Sergey?
That's basically it, yeah. Or you probably have some money, otherwise you would be out of business, but you probably don't make enough money and you could have done better. And sorry, I'm drinking tea because I just gave a talk and need a little voice soothing, but...
This is fantastic. What were you talking about?
Talking about exactly that topic, actually. The journey that both engineers and companies I work for need to go through to improve their web performance programs, not just specifically speed, but understanding of... they start with no knowledge of speed affecting their business, and they don't really end that journey, but like they go through the better and better understanding and how engineers can start talking to business, to designers, and have the same language to be able to explain the benefit that the end users have and the business has as a result. So it's a very long project. Like probably took me those 16 years to come up with all of the thoughts, and it's probably not over either.
So you've been running the meetup for 16 years, so you must have had just as long of a career. What can you tell us about your career?
Well, probably much longer career, but yeah, I started coding when I was 13. I didn't do much. I mostly played Tetris at that time.
You programmed Tetris or played Tetris?
Played Tetris. I mean, that was coding, right? I was at the computer. My parents loved it, right? And Load Runner. If you played Load Runner, let me know. You know,
post in the comments.
Yeah, post in the comments. That's right. And subscribe and like. You know, like now that I'm a YouTuber, I need to do that. You know, and. You know, did PC support. We had a PC support business while I was in college and working in parallel. And then, you know, computers was a lot fun, but coding was much more magical, right? Like you can wave a wand or keyboard and the mouse and get yourself whatever you wanted to do there, right? Like, so I started web very early in Russia where it just appeared. And,
Wow, you're a true pioneer.
Yeah, and moved over here. Well, I didn't say I made it appear, but but I started doing that early, yes. And then I moved to United States and kind of had to rebuild a career as well, by the way. Just for those of you immigrants, you know, it's a tough job, but, you know, it's a journey. And eventually, you know, as I was running web development, both operationally and development-wise, like the performance topic kind of crossed my view. I think I was always interested in web performance and making websites fast because I cared about user experience, frankly. And eventually I started to specialize in that. And well, and when I could not run a meetup, I started running a meetup. You know?
So, if this is your full-time job, what companies have you worked at, and what are the advantages and challenges? If they are big companies, they have a lot of resources, but in my view, web performance seems to be a bit of a niche, not that well understood. And how do you make web performance big, besides your fantastic meetup?
Send everybody to your local web performance meetup, for sure. But and that's probably the actual answer. But I think, well, I worked for a few companies. I worked at Etsy. I worked at Meetup, the company, actually.
I still have the T-shirt that says Meetup.
There you go. I'm
at a Meetup at Meetup.
Yeah, that was my best line, you know. But I worked for Bed Bath and Beyond, for Turner, like so both media business, e-commerce. Later I started working for performance companies, a little more specialized, but and now I work at Cloudflare. But
All
I
brand
think,
names we've heard.
yeah,
Do they
thank you.
perform?
So, well, different companies need performance for themselves, or like special technology companies, they enable other companies as well, right? So they provide service that you can buy to improve some of your performance and
Like
other
Cloudflare?
features, like Cloudflare, yes. But I think you asked like what are the challenges, and I think small companies and large companies have different challenges. The small companies can do. They can just go and rebuild everything from scratch because they don't have that much yet, right?
They're flexible, they're
They're more
agile.
flexible, and architecture and re-architecture are biggest challenges, right? Like I've been at Meetup, at Etsy, and like basically every large company. One of the biggest challenges is legacy, right? Like they cannot rebuild everything. They have a system that runs for the last 50 years, and the core of their operations or whatever. I mean, the companies I mentioned are not that long, but anyway, and it's a challenge for them to rethink that, right? In fact, some of those projects that I worked on were like significantly rethinking user experience side of it, which that's how you can do it, right? Like you concentrate on a layer that core business might not be as ingrained in, right? But you can redo the front end layer, for example, or redo some of it, some of the delivery mechanism, or maybe introduce a tool like a CDN or something like that that is easier to introduce. So for large companies, that's one of the biggest challenges. Another challenge for the large company is to have people talk to each other. Right, they have more people. Like literally, they are spread across larger physical area and organizational area. Obviously, politics. Everybody knows the corporate politics problem. And then have them talk to each other and use the same language is challenging, right? In smaller companies and in startups, for example, sometimes it's easier. Like you have the same person doing design, front-end engineering, product research, and stuff like that, right? So for them, they talk to each other in their brain, right? It's easy. They might not be right, right? They might not have a lot of expertise in each of those fields, but they're doing it, right? So those are challenges. For smaller companies, the challenge is not having expertise, not having enough understanding, because some of the things we talk about in web performance space range from protocol of TCP/IP, how that operates, to databases, to front-end frameworks, to how browsers work, to user experience. Having all of that in one person is very hard to find, especially when
That's
you
why
have a
it's
startup.
niche. You have
That's
to
why
have
it's a
many
niche.
skills.
And that's probably why I'm very curious about it personally. But that's one of the challenges of the smaller organizations, where having all of that knowledge is hard. So
How
there's
do you
no easy
deal
answer
with
to that.
the legacy? We're at Google. Does Google Cloud or other cloud technologies help with that? How does a company, whether it's financial companies that have been around, like you said, for 20 more years, they can just change things overnight.
Yeah.
How do they deal with this challenge? Because you have to perform.
Yeah, one of the things that Google does is not only the technology that they build, right, but also the understanding of that technology that they promote. Like I just mentioned in my talk, Core Web Vitals project, which was one of the very
Core
big
Web Vitals.
pushes for web performance space. It motivated it very well. A lot of people to pay attention to it because of Google's weight in the space, in the web space, but also it explained some concepts, made them simpler, right? They had a lot of engineers, a lot of content creators, a lot of product managers coming together with the goal of explaining it in easy terms, right? Like creating that language. But technology as well, right? Like Google released quite a lot of specific technology, both in their browser engine, that Chromium, that powers both Chrome browser, but also some other browsers from other companies, right? But also a lot of compression technology, for example, Broadly, or WebP for image compression, right? So a lot of those technologies benefit the world, right? I mean, there are a lot of Googlers involved in the standardization process, for example, things like that. So,
If somebody is new to what you're talking about, Core Web Vitals, WebP, and they want to get into it, where should they start? Obviously, Google, as we know, powers the web with Chrome.
yeah.
What is the best resource besides your meetup?
Well, I don't want to say besides my meetup. I think people should join meetups. They're local meetups. Obviously, you're limited to New York City for the group I help organize. But I think web.dev is a great resource. I
Web.dev.
just mentioned case studies, for example, for business and things like that. So a lot of content there. YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to developer channel for Google, I watch every single release of Chrome developer tools with all the details. Like
Subscribe
it
to
takes
Chrome
time.
Developer
Yeah,
Tool.
yeah. It's an amazing place. Yeah.
And what do you see coming next? We talk about AI all the time.
Yeah.
I think your talk was not about AI.
Not
But
specifically.
how does AI affect web performance? How can it help?
Yeah. There are some programs about improving performance tooling with AI. I know some of them are going on at Google. There are some startups doing that too. So the more complex the topic is, the more you want the machine to help you, right? And how successful the help from a machine will be, that's a good question. It's not an easy task. That's what I'm looking forward to learning, right? Like, because it does cut through a lot of noise, but it also creates a lot of noise. So it's a tough technology to utilize. But I think it will help
Wait
us
for
quite a bit.
maturity.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you should wait for maturity. I think you should mature with it and help it mature.
Better.
Help it mature.
And what is your next meetup?
Well, we run two types of sessions. One is hands-on, called Meet for Speed, where you bring your website and we help analyze and optimize it. Sometimes
Highly
shipping
recommend.
right at the meetup. It happened before, and we have
Lucky
speaker
people.
sessions as well. So our next is, I think, October 16 for Meet for Speed, and I think November 18, if I remember, for our talk with Scott Gell, a speaker, very famous speaker in the space.
Well, fantastic. So happy to see you in real life, Sergey. Enjoy the rest of DevFest, and I'm sure we'll be doing more things together soon.
Thank you.